New York City.
Right here, baby.
All right?
Right here.
This is where, well, right here. All right? There's no Yankee memorabilia, as you can see right now, but we're still in New York City.
And we just went to Knicks beat the Mavs. So
yeah,
I mean,
we did watch that. And Jeremy Lin went insane today, baby. Did he not? Boy, went insane. What's happening, partner?
What's going on, my man?
All right, I'm with the Golden One, as I am known around the entire universe as a sports prophet. PredictionCity.com over here, baby. We're back for another edition.
Yeah.
And New York is like the center of the sports entire universe right now. You had the Giants win the Super Bowl. You have Insanity. Baseball season's coming up. You know, you got your spring training and everything. So a lot of good, positive news going on for the New York area so far, and it's been nice.
I mean, the far reach of Linsanity has brought stars from Paul McCartney to Jerry Rice to the obvious Spike Lee and so on into the Garden.
Kevin Costner was there today.
Kevin Costner was there today. But before we go any further with the stars that were in Madison Square Garden, let's talk about a star that has since passed us. You are a Met fan.
Yeah.
I grew up watching the guy, but didn't mean as much to me than it did to you, so I'm going to give you the floor to say goodbye to the kid.
And I appreciate that, and the kid is exactly what it is. It's the best way to describe him is the kid. That's why they gave him the nickname. The guy was always smiling. He loved baseball. He would have played it 24/7 if he could, and he spent 12 years with the Expos and was one of the best catchers in baseball. Then he came over to the Mets, and a couple of years later, he's leading the team, and they win the famous 1986 World Series, and listen, he was the kid Carter. I wore number 8 because of Gary Carter on all my baseball teams from Little League all the way through high school. Number 8 is my number because of him. I have an affinity just with Gary Carter. Again, always smiling. My batting stance, I'm modeled after him. And it's a terrible situation. You know, I don't want to spend time because it is depressing, but I just want to give my condolences to his family. Tell them how much, again, I love Gary Carter, one of my favorite players of all time. And listen, you'll be very missed, and God bless and rest in peace, my friend. So that is the one sad note. And
there's really no easy transition off of that, but rest in peace, Gary Carter. But let's go talk about the Knicks. I mean, let's talk about Jeremy Lin. Let's talk about Linsanity and what the Knicks got going on, man.
Me and the Golden One just watched the game, and it was great. It was a classic type of game, and you know, a little back and forth in the beginning. For a while, the Mavericks looked like they were going to take it away, but Linsanity struck again, man. I mean, he just went off, did he not?
I mean, Linsanity is, you know, I feel like everyone out there is waiting for this guy to fall on his face, like this is some kind of mirage, and it's not.
Right, it's not.
It's not. The guy's only 23.
He can obviously play.
He can clearly play, and more specifically, he can clearly play in D'Antoni's system.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Good point.
I mean, if you this is going to sound bad, but whatever, we'll maybe get a laugh out of it. If you put 2 brown paper bags over their heads, you really might not know the difference between Lin and Nash.
Yeah, you know, that's a great point. Yeah, they run in the same D'Antoni system, and yeah, just the way that they run around the hoop and try to create, and you know, even going up with the left hand and the floating type of shots that they have. Yeah, you know, you just like you said, you cut off their heads, and they're the same kind of player. You wouldn't really you wouldn't recognize at all. So and you love that, and they were successful. I know Phoenix didn't win any championships, but they came pretty darn close a few times, and they got robbed that one year against San Antonio.
Oh.
Remember that terrible nonsense where they kicked out everybody for the game
because they came off the bench.
Because they came off the bench for the fight, and this guy takes one step. I think he had half of his big toe on the court. All right, and they kicked him out for the next game.
Was that Stoudemire?
Stoudemire? Yeah,
I think it was Stoudemire.
Yeah, horrible what they did. You know, the rules they got to fabricate a little bit. You know, it's a little bit of nonsense. But yeah, look, Lin did it again today. Another tremendous game. Again, 13 assists. He had 28 points. Again, with the turnovers, a little bit high, but he made up for it. Clutch type of shots. Got that rainbow shot going. Stoudemire didn't have a great game, but you see how the team loves playing with Lin, and he lights them all up.
Not only does he light them up, he lights up the whole guard, and he lights himself up. And it's a pleasure to watch.
Oh, yeah.
For 8 and 15 was 23 games. I'm a math major. No, I'm not. But
we just calculated.
They were miserable to watch. They were borderline unwatchable, which we might have touched on at some point. But they were borderline unwatchable, and now I feel like a child. Every time I know they're on the schedule for that day, it's this anticipation leading up to the game that I can't wait, and it's like, what can I do to pass the time to get this game on television?
Yeah, I know,
right now,
I know.
you know?
I was thanking God today the game is 1 o'clock Eastern time
Yeah.
because I couldn't have waited for a 3:30, 8 o'clock game. It's great. It's must-watch TV, and this is what reality TV is all about. You know, you guys can watch all your Jersey Shores and your Housewives and whatever kind of crap is on these ridiculous channels, but they script that reality crap. This is real reality TV. You never know what's going to happen. You can't take this out of the script of Hollywood and say, yeah, this Jeremy Lin, you know, from Harvard, out of nowhere, is going to come around and save the entire New York Knicks franchise. You can't write stuff like that. This is real stuff.
Which, by the way, in a matter of, I guess he was, how old is he at that point? Maybe 16 years old. He's 23 now. So 7 years ago, this guy, who is just a sports-wide phenomenon, was 5'3". And he's an NBA.
Yeah, tell him about that.
And he's an NBA superstar now. As a freshman in high school, he was 5'3" and sprouted a foot in 4 years. And now he's just obviously blossomed, not literally, but figuratively in terms of his status in the league. I mean, this is far-reaching, man. This is pretty wild.
I've never seen any player since Jordan, and it's in a different aspect. I'm not comparing the type of players they are, but capture the entire league like this and bring in fans from like out of nowhere. It's, again, they lead. They lead, you know, Sports Center with Jeremy Lin and the Knicks. It's not Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire in the Knicks. It's what did Jeremy Lin do today?
And it's not one thing. It's not one segment they're waiting to do. It's like 4 or 5.
Right.
And any different way they can depict Jeremy Lin.
And every show is like that, and it's well deserved because it's a beautiful capturing story, and I love it. And let's mention a guy real quick today. Another one who just got to the Knicks, who played an excellent game, and J.R. Smith popped up, man. 3 threes he had right off the bat, a big steal as soon as he got in the game, and he looked like he was also igniting some fire for this team.
And I think he ended up with about 13 points or so, and because I haven't had a chance to touch upon that yet since they signed him, I just will say this about Jeremy Lin. J.R. Smith. I like the signing. The guy is highly athletic and a highly skilled basketball player.
Definitely.
My biggest concern, and I am concerned, is this. We've been watching sports, you and I, forever.
Forever.
I am a huge Syracuse basketball fan, so I've been watching the Nuggets forever because of Carmelo. J.R. Smith played with Carmelo over there. And what I know about J.R. Smith is this. If he falls out of favor at all with Mike D'Antoni and is not getting the minutes he wants, he is going to be a problem.
Okay.
And that is my concern. On the court, he's going to be awesome as long as he's not hogging it up, which he has a tendency to do every now and again too. But with Jeremy Lin there, I don't see that being the case. I am just concerned that if he doesn't get the minutes he's looking for, he becomes an issue.
Well, here's what I'm going to say just to counter that, and I pray to God that is not it. And you know, from the experience that you watched, I understand that that could be a problem. But he handpicked this team. He said, "This is where I want to go play." It wasn't like the decision like LeBron James or like that, but he basically was coming from China, J.R. Smith, and finishing his contract, right?
Right.
And he had a few teams that wanted to say, "Look, I want to go to the Knicks."
Or the Clippers. Or the
Clippers.
Yeah.
He decided to go to the Knicks, and they got him at a good rate and everything. So I'm thinking that he wants to be there, and he'll know his role, and he know he's not going to be a starter. Maybe he'll fit into the starting role at some point. How they'll get him in, I don't know, but I hope you're wrong. And
I hope I'm wrong too.
Yeah,
I hope I'm
we'll
wrong.
see.
What I don't want to see is, I don't know if you heard this, but there were stories about might have been after, I want to say after the Toronto game, when Lin hit the game-winning three-pointer with 0.5 seconds left on the clock. I think it was after, not necessarily before, but in any case, the whole team, that includes Carmelo, who's injured, the whole squad had gone for dinner. Very rarely in sports, especially when you have some guys who are on this prestigious superstar level status, partake in something like that, usually doing their own thing. The entire Knicks squad, from all the way to Balkman, who's no longer there, went out for dinner. And they have this very childlike camaraderie on that team at this point, especially with Lin being probably the spearhead of it. Mm-hmm. And my concern is just that if this guy jumps into the mix, literally from the Far East, he just came out of nowhere, and does anything, he's not getting the minutes he wants. I just don't want to see him break that camaraderie down.
I don't see it happening. I don't see him ruining the team.
Not.
He's coming in as an outsider, J.R. Smith, because he's just getting here. He wanted to come here, so he's going to have to fit in and know his role in order to succeed. To wrap up kind of the insanity talk a little bit, we're going to get into kind of point guards and where he ranks among them, which is interesting. Not all time, of course, but just the way they're playing now. there's been a lot of pun on words and a lot of play on words regarding his name again, with Linsanity, just Lin Baby, Lincredible, whatever you want to call it. But there's been a couple of high-profile radio stations and sports networks that have said a few kind of unhealthy and distasteful sort of pun on words, and I was kind of hoping you could tell the people about that a little bit and your distaste for it. I have a lot, and I'm afraid to curse on TV over here, so I'm going to let you take the floor on this.
I'll start with this. I'll start with the fact that it was used in this context is Lindescribable.
Yeah.
It's a Lindescribable, complete error in judgment, and to be very real and blunt about it, it was racist.
It was.
How could the guy who wrote it, the editor, the publishing editor, the station, we don't need to go into who that was, how could they let someone print an article that was titled, after the Knicks lost one game, after a 7-game win streak, it's just a blip, chink in the armor.
Terrible.
It's just racist.
It's wrong.
It's racist, and fortunately, we found out that the person who wrote it and responsible has actually been dismissed of his job. And in this economy, we don't like to see people losing their jobs. But look, man, this guy is a phenomenon with a very unique story, a very unique underdog story. And the last thing anyone should be doing is being racist. No one should be racist anyhow. The tolerance level that's got to stop anyhow. But this guy, if you don't love this guy, you don't love anything, or you don't love sports. Don't be racist to Jeremy Lin, man.
Whether or not his intent was actually to be racist or not, or whether it was, let me try to find the best headline I possibly can and make money, you got to know what's right and wrong and what's not. It's poor judgment, and you deserve what you get for writing something like that. Look, guy, whoever your name is, and we're not going to get into it here, there's always going to be a story, and you'll always have a chance of getting that top headline, and you don't need to go there. You don't need to go to this racial sort of stuff. Whether or not you're racist or not, we're not necessarily calling you that. The bottom line is, don't go there. There's a lot of other things you can do. You got a job at one point because you didn't say anything like that. Now you open your mouth, or you kind of let your pen go a little bit loose. Now you don't have one.
And that's a great point, by the way. I like the way you put that. But you know what else, too? Especially in the NBA in particular, the NBA has blossomed into this international sport.
Yeah, big time. Totally international.
That being said, Lin is American, for the record. He's an American-born...
That's right.
Asian. He's an Asian-American.
California.
And, but regardless of that, the entry of all the Europeans and the guys in the Far East, and even a couple of Australians like Bogut and whatnot, it's an international sport. There's just no place for it, and you know,
let it be.
Yeah, just don't go there.
Look, as we've seen,
just don't go there.
Yeah, the United States has been usually the best at basketball for a long time. There was a part in the late '90s and early 2000s we weren't winning in the Olympics. Argentina was winning and all these others. So the point is that there are plenty of good basketball players around the world. So let's not make it a racial thing. It's a game that most countries play. All right. I still want to stay on basketball because it's hot. And this point guard thing, I'm loving how Jeremy Lin is now getting compared. We compared him to Steve Nash, which I think is a good one. Allen Iverson is another one we compared him to. You made the funny comment that the only thing is different than Allen Iverson would shoot it, diving out of a plane and on top of his head or something like that. Lin is a little more sophisticated. Got to keep the turnovers down, but. Looking at him right now, he does compare to Nash in the way that they do play. I think a lot of people put Derrick Rose as the top point guard, and I don't like that because he's not a true point guard in my opinion. And to me, Chris Paul is number one, and it's pretty evident by what's going on out there on the West Coast. He's totally transformed that Clipper team to where they were a losing team. Now they're one of the best teams in the Western Conference. I want my point guard distributing, and if you need him to take a shot where he goes, 4 for 6 or 5 for 8 or 9 during a game or something. So I want my point guard to be a distributor, and me and you had both agreed at one point that when your point guard is your main scorer, it's just not going to work.
No, it's not going to work, and let me rephrase. It could work. It's probably not the best plan of attack.
It hasn't worked.
It hasn't worked, and the evidence of that is Derrick Rose last year. Them falling short in the Eastern Conference Finals, if I'm not mistaken. Additionally, you also have Russell Westbrook, who is very similar to Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
And he is. I'll give Derrick Rose this much. He's more pass first than Russell Westbrook, but that doesn't really say much.
That doesn't say. But Russell Westbrook, when he does pass, is a good passer.
Yeah.
When he decides to.
So is Carmelo Anthony, but he's not a point forward.
Yeah. And that was a big thing. Was Westbrook going to be able to? It seemed like Westbrook and Durant had some problems last year, but apparently they worked it out because they got the best record in the league.
They do.
And they're playing. They're playing great. Tony Parker's another one. I'm not putting him as top 3, but people really underrate him, and he's been on fire as San Antonio has been winning games.
I am glad you mentioned Tony Parker, because that's the guy I have in my mind that if there's another comparison to Nash and Lynn, Tony Parker is in that group.
I love his game.
I love his game, and everything about him. He's very much in the upper echelon of point guards, and San Antonio is now rattled off 10 straight wins, and Tony Parker has, if not the most, to do with that.
It amazes me how San Antonio keeps winning. I mean, they keep getting older every year. Ginobili's hurt all the time.
All the time.
But they have one of the best coaches maybe ever in Greg Popovich. They keep winning. Tim Duncan, he's only like a 15-point-a-game guy now, if that. It's weird that they keep winning.
And Tim Duncan also potentially the best at his position ever, similar to like a Mariano Rivera as a closer.
Yeah.
Tim Duncan might be the best power forward ever.
Yeah, pure power forward, no doubt.
But he's definitely been diminished, and not because his talent's less. He's just older, and that's the game evolves. You get these younger guys, and Ginobili also undervalued and underrated.
Yeah.
I mean, Ginobili is when Ginobili's healthy, he's one of the top 5 swingmen there is. But he doesn't get recognized like that. He gets recognized as like a 6th man or something, which is a little bit odd to me.
Yeah, because he was coming off a couple of years ago. He was coming off the bench a lot. Right. 6-man type of guy. But obviously he's much better than that. As he's made. But
they did that for the spark more than the fact he was
exactly
6-man.
Right. Not that he could have started on any other team in the NBA.
Right.
No doubt. Tim Duncan got snubbed from the All-Star team this year. The All-Star. I got a problem with All-Star games in general. Well, more specifically, the fans voting. I don't think that. I'm sorry, I hate to take away from you, but all you schmucks vote for just your favorite players, and it bothers me. You need to look into who's playing well at that half a year. Now, I mean, I understand you want to see the guys who are high flying, Blake Griffin and Vince Carter at times, and the best. I get it. That's who you want to see, but you're leaving guys out who deserve to be there, and it's because of the fans. And it's evident how Yao Ming was your starting center in the All-Star game in years when he wasn't even active.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It really gets to me, and you see it in baseball. The NFL to me, the Pro Bowl's a joke anyway, so I could care less. But I don't like that fans have so much of a vote. I think that they should let the fans vote. The NBA, and pretend like it actually matters, and just kind of throw it in the garbage, and then just kind of make their own team up.
There's another way, and I want to say we had a joke about this, about not watching the Pro Bowl in terms of football, but I think the way the NFL does it now is I think it's a third management coaches, a third players, and a third fan.
That's right.
There's got to be a way to reduce the impact of the fan voting. Although I think the fans only responsible in the NBA for starters. But that being said,
that's the biggest part.
If you vote in a guy who hasn't played all year,
Carmelo Anthony should not be a starter this year.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to. If you want to start rattling off names of guys who should be in, Paul Pierce didn't even get in. I know he was hurt for a little while, but it just bothers me how you see the same faces every single year, keep getting in. Some people get in by default, like Andrew Bynum, guys like that, just because nobody else is there.
There's a lack of talent at the position.
There's just a lack of talent, but I would rather see or have Tim Duncan, playing in that position. I don't think Blake Griffin is a starter.
Yeah, well, that's another aspect of it, is you can actually, some of these power forwards are, of the height or size of a center. Just like Major League Baseball does it, is they don't put a left fielder, a center fielder, and a right fielder into the game. Right. They put 3 outfielders out there, and they'll figure it out. It's the same sort of thing here. Is if there's not enough quality at the position like center, then don't put a center in. Put 2 power forwards.
Yeah, you might. Right.
It's got to be more flexible so that the best guys, the guys that are most deserving, get into the game. And one guy in particular I want to reference. And he may not be having his best year to date. And I think if you asked him, or I think he was asked, or he volunteered the information, was Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk Nowitzki went off today. I think he had like 34 points.
He had a great game today. He can shoot the lights out of
But a couple of weeks ago, he actually said that he didn't think he was worthy of it, and I appreciate the humility. I really do. That being said, Dirk, you're an all-star, man. You were the MVP last year, or was it just the finals he was the MVP?
Finals MVP last year. It was Derrick Rose. Was the MVP.
Right. So he's the finals MVP. He's also one of the best closers in the game, and he's an all-star.
He deserves to be there.
Whether he wants to decline or not, you're an all-star, Dirk. I mean, it just is what it is.
I just want to correct myself. It was Kevin Garnett who didn't get to go to the All-Star game this year, not Paul Pierce.
Oh, okay.
I just want to correct myself for the record out there. Try to be valid with everything that we say.
The Celtics haven't been overly overwhelming this year, so I'm not. Especially as a Knicks fan, I'm not crying over the fact that they're not overwhelmed in the All-Star game with Celtics.
How about Marc Gasol getting it over Paul Gasol? Or Pau Gasol, however you pronounce that. That's interesting.
It is interesting, although I'm not going to completely say it's unwarranted. What's Memphis' record right now?
I do actually have him. I'm going to get it up here.
Marc Gasol is actually pretty good. I don't know what his numbers look like versus Pau's at this moment, but and I think sometimes it's along the lines if they're trying to get all the teams represented. But in that case, did Rudy Gay make it?
They're 18 and 14, by the way, Memphis. So
that's
not
pretty
terrible.
Good. Rudy Gay would probably be more worthy of an All-Star place. He's not on there.
He's not.
He's not. He'd probably be more worthy than Marc Gasol.
I'll tell you a couple of guys who I really like who they got right. LaMarcus Aldridge is having a stupid year. People need to know who he is. I know you've
and by stupid, we mean good.
We mean good, yeah. Like stupid, awesome. Like the guys. I mean, Portland's. I was talking at the beginning of the year that it's too bad that they lost. Help me out, Brandon Roy.
Yeah.
Had he been there, I had them going. Possibly the Western Conference Finals. But Portland's still playing like one of those really good teams. I mean, they're a very good team, and so is the Philadelphia 76ers, led by Iguodala. They're a force. I'm not saying they're going to the finals again. I love the Heat, but I'm glad that they gave him props and put him in this game because he deserves to be there.
And Doug Collins doing a great job with that team.
What a great job!
But I will say this: as a Knicks fan, I am so hoping this. I shouldn't say that. I expect this run to continue. I expect the Knicks to finish well above 500 this year at the pace they're at now. They're back at 500 again after today's game. And I'm hoping that they can take over Philly because Philly is lacking the pure star. The Knicks are overloaded with them, and they have the head now, meaning Lynn.
Right.
And I think the Knicks by season's end could contend and could actually get as high as that number 3 spot behind the Heat and the Bulls.
Well, it's going to be tough because as we know, it's a short season. There's only 30 some odd games left.
That's crazy.
It's amazing. Yeah, it goes by fast.
Yeah.
And right now the Knicks are holding the 8th spot, I think.
Yeah.
So they'll get in. We're not. They're going to get in. But I'd rather not have to play Boston. I'm not worried about. But I don't want to play Chicago, Miami, or really round. Even Philly in the first round. I'd rather not. But then again, you're going to have to play these guys at some point. So.
But I mean, who's in front of them? The Celtics are in front of them. They should pass them. The Celtics are on the
Indiana's a good team.
But Indiana's also sliding a little bit. And who's the other team that's in there?
Orlando's in there. Atlanta's in there.
Atlanta's the other team. So there is a possibility the Knicks could rise to potentially get in that middle,
get
that
4 or 5,
6.
yeah.
But they could go probably as high as 3, and obviously that's what we're looking for.
Chicago will probably remain around like the 1 or 2 spots. Amazing, with the exception of that loss to New Jersey last night, or it was 2 nights ago, whichever it was.
I think it was last night. Yeah.
They were rolling without Derrick Rose. They won 5 in a row without him.
Which speaks to how good that team is.
It's their defense, man. That defense is just phenomenal. It blows me away. They hold teams to sometimes 65, 70 points.
Which is a direct, like a spin-off, we'll call it in reality shows terms or something. That's a Boston Celtics regime of the last couple of years. Spin-off in terms of Tom Thibodeau.
Right.
He's a defensive guru, basically.
Because that's where he came from. He was their coach.
He was the Celtics coach, assistant coach to Doc Rivers. And, I mean, their defense is to be feared. Joakim Noah is
he's a legit player. Luol Deng made the All-Star team.
Yeah,
they're good. Listen, that guy's a good player. I like how Chicago and Boston, the Knicks classic teams. They've never changed their uniforms too much. But then you got a team like the New Orleans Charlotte Hornets of the United States of America who have
of the NBA, owned by the NBA, right?
Could you try to explain what you saw? What are those uniforms? What color? What's happening there?
I don't know that it was. I was actually thinking I was watching the Knicks versus the Jamaican bobsled team or something like that. I don't know exactly what they were wearing.
See, because I thought a rainbow had thrown up all over the court. All right, and it just started swirling around in a pile of mud.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it was green and purple, or purple and green.
Yeah, two different colors. Then it was yellow streaking.
I mean, it was as ugly gets.
What are they going for?
I understand that these teams like to be creative. Just totally off topic, but the Oregon Ducks are very good at that in terms of all the various different uniforms.
God. They spend more money on uniforms than they do on scholarships, probably.
Or paying the collegiate athletes. That's a whole other conversation. we won't go there.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
But as far as these uniforms, though, and I understand the whole marketing aspect, and teams are trying to make more money by giving a couple different looks, more visually appealing. That wasn't visually appealing. That was visually disturbing.
Yeah, it was.
I will put a plea out to the NBA because you own the Hornets, which is also weird. Please don't wear those again.
It looked like an optical illusion or something like that. It was a whole mixture of horrible colors, but. Just the NBA loves with these uniforms. They change them all the time.
Yeah,
but
don't wear those.
Just keep it simple, stupid, right? Isn't that like an old saying?
Yeah.
Look, we got a lot more to say, but we want to watch a little bit of the Heat Magic game right now. So we're going to see what LeBron can do, if Dwight Howard can go ahead and have another stupid, retarded game. Guy puts up 20-20s like that, nothing, right? Love that. I told you, when Dwight Howard gets himself another star, it's going to be Title City, man. All over the place, I'm telling you.
It's going to be because the big man usually prevails. You go back to Shaq, Olajuwon, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Ewing didn't quite get there. Didn't quite get there, and I don't want to put direct blame because that's obviously would be misleading. But O.J. Simpson had a big part to do with it.
Yeah, really. Could you just wait a week? You
don't need to run down the L.A. freeway or whatever it was in the middle of the finals.
Man, we were watching basketball. God, you can do these silly things. Wait at the appropriate time.
Yeah, if you're gonna have a police chase, just do it now. Right? The NBA finals are on.
Come on, get your schedules accordingly.
Seriously.
All right, look, we want to go watch a little basketball. Thanks for hanging with us. We're going to be back in a little bit, and we'll break down some more action for you. Again, the website is www.sports4fans.blogspot.com. That's sports, the number 4fans.blogspot.com. You can check all the blogs, all our podcasts, leave comments, questions, whatever you want to talk about. Send us flowers if you want. I really like steak, so if you could send a whole bunch of meat, chopped meat, stuff like that, make a few burgers or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, let's get that going. Anything that you want from them? Special requests?
Well, no, I just want to say they can also catch us at Sports Profit 1 channel on YouTube. Correct. Or the Golden Wan, that's Golden, W-A-N.
That's right.
That was my choices. I'm sorry, people. It just is what it is. But you know what? It does have an Asian American feel, and I'm big on the Jeremy Lin, so I love it.
Baby. We're feeling it, baby. We love all that stuff.
So, but be sure to check us out, and yeah, man.
That's it.
We will see you guys soon.
For the Golden One, I am the Sports Prophet. We'll see you later.